Hi all, welcome to Poetry and Prose. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to start off with a short interview of our featured poet, Mr. Persad, and Vishnu is going to do the honors of being able to interview him. Welcome, and Vishnu, I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. Kamta ji, welcome to Poetry and Prose.
Okay, thanks.
I are going to spend about 15 minutes, I think, talking about your work. Okay, Ji? Kamta ji?
Okay.
All right. From what I read, what they have sent me, you seem to be a poet, right?
Well, it started off with photography, really. What happened was this, is that I used to do a lot of photography and electronics and so forth. And what the photographs I wanted to create was for this, about this environment and what was happening. I'm not talking about glamour photographs or anything like, say, tourist type photographs. So I started off by going around and taking photographs. The website, some of the websites that I dealt with wanted you to say something about the photograph. So apart from the photograph itself, I started to reflect on what I should write. And I started writing. And then what happened was this, that I was writing about our environment. So I was reluctant to send it up to them. I sent technical data, but no, some of them were very long, and this just came out. So I didn't send up much of them, and I had them there. So what I used to do, I used to go with friends, we used to go sit on my shed and read it aloud and so forth. And then somebody told me about Facebook. So I said, well, what is that? I didn't know about it. I thought it was something for children. Anyway, I sent up some, and I got no reaction. Nobody wanted to see pictures of dead coconut trees and things like that. And me commenting on the environment. So that disaster. So I retreated back to my electronics and photography and went on at my website. What happened? I started to get phone calls. Mr. Persad, how come, Mr. Kippy, how come you're putting up no more photographs? So I started writing again and sending up these things. What happened now was I realized that they put in like, but they were not understanding what I was doing. So I printed out some and sent it to community groups. The response I got was, he does write good, but them think too long. And we don't know what to be saying and so forth. That was the complaint. I'm talking about the younger people, not my friends, not the friends that we line with and so forth. So I decided to, well, one of my favorite authors of all time is a fellow called Jonathan Swift, Gulliver Travels. So I said, better I try to write something that will mean something to everybody. So I shortened what I was writing, made it a little bit more dramatic, and I put it out there. And what happened was I started to gain friends and I started to get phone calls and responses. So I continued, I made a lot of friends. And then the magazine itself, people in the magazine itself, they responded well to the photography website. So I continued until this day. Well, today I will know where I stand when I hear the comments later on.
Oh, so you started off being a photographer, and you write little songs, and you begin to write little scripts, little poems. And I get the idea you were all over the country, Trinidad, doing...
Well, yeah, we have this situation where I have a variety of different friends. We have the ones who drink. So we go to bars and carry the camera. And whatever experience we have, I will photograph it. Sometimes I don't remember when I come, but the camera is there. Okay. And we'll go. That's one set of friends. Then I have the other set from the temple, but they don't drink. But we just still go around and I listen outside of temples. I am surprised at the evolution of things in temples. Do you know it have pundits who use apps to do puja? I think I'll write about that later. Anyway, and we'll go around and we'll talk. That is a different, he writes too. That's a different point of view altogether. I am not a person of I'm not very much into religion. And then we have the other type too. Well, this one I carry him every 2 days. He has lupus, possibly dying. I take his point of view too. And that is how we go around. We go, and then of course, I still go to places that require her to take a few photographs, not many. I'm not doing it professionally. So we have this broad area of interaction.
So when you go to the bar and you go to the mandir and you stand up and read your poems out, like you perform
Well,
them?
that, we got kicked out for that. Me and Today Shamis stood by a bar and we were reading when the day what Walcott died. The bartender said, let them fellas, move them fellas from here. They're interrupting my customers. We had a pile of books. We don't do that too often. We do that too often. We don't get good reactions at all.
You mean in the bar? In the bar you get good?
Yeah, we don't get a reaction. They prefer to hear a little chutney, but I don't hear much calypso and this new set of music that irritates.
But in doing that, do you think you would like to and your poems and them, like like talking to the audience kind of way, like there's a lady.
We do, as a matter of fact, these poems that I wrote on the immigrants, the new Venezuelan immigrants. I had long talks with these females and sat down there and I had talks with the men who interact with them and so forth. And the one with the temple too, I stand outside, I listen. I talk with the leader of the temple. And there are others too. I mean, I wouldn't really be able to talk with these swamis and because they are put in a pedestal. So that's what we do, and we have the camera. Sometimes they drive us, sometimes they don't.
So you use a camera sometimes to take shots, and then you look at the shots and you write from what memory?
Oh, at the moment there too, you get some feelings, but I depend on the camera a lot for the images. It will bring back the memory, and that's it.
Okay. So you write mainly like about light-hearted things, or you write
No. I want to reflect what is going on in society. I have been reading these other authors like Mutu who left Boardwalk and went to the Irish country and so forth. There's this author called Shanatu Mutu or something. And I felt she's so out of touch with what is happening here. She left, she used to live in Woodbrook, she went to the Irish country, came back. She wrote what They Drowned She by the Sea or so forth. They Drowned She by the Sea, that's a book. It is a book, because my friend bought it for me. Anyway, it seems so out of touch with what has happened, with what is going on here. There's a transformation, the culture is changing based on electronic devices. The culture is changing, the attitudes are changing based on those devices.
So you write basically on issues that affect society, is that right?
I don't think I am that universal in the sense that although I used to go to the Carnival Arena of North, I used to be there as a photographer. I never really fully assimilated that culture. And I'm in the photography too, I find the color is too much. When I look at these images and I take them, there's nothing there for me when I look at them. There's women and costume. Nothing to write.
Nothing to write. Okay. So how long has this been going on then? I mean, since you were like a youth growing up, or I mean?
Yeah, remember parallel things happen. My introduction to photography was a teaching palace with Biladaku. That's the Yashica Mat Pro. That is so many years ago, right? And now it is the advanced and camera 24 megapixels and so forth, using the most modern software like Photoshop and Premiere Pro. So it's a long time.
A long time. But all right, so you write about social issues, you write about lighthearted this thing, you're in the bar, sometime in the mandir and all that. But is there any particular, like you write rhyming poems or free verse poems, that kind of thing?
No, it wouldn't be rhyming. My favorite poet of all time is T.S. Eliot. It doesn't rhyme.
The Wasteland. You like the Wasteland too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, but okay, if you pinpoint T.S. Eliot as maybe your favorite poem, is there something particular in Eliot you like? I mean, I did one time.
Well, what happens is that a lot of people like to paint the world as being so cheerful and happy and so forth. When you go on here, we don't see that. We don't see it. We see something else marking to what Eliot writes about.
Okay. All right. So, So you have basically that's what you do. All right. So can you find your poems? You said that you had them on Facebook and people reacted to them and thing. And
Initially very bad. Initially there was no response almost.
okay. And how did you overcome that then? If people
Well, by
want to,
changing the style of writing one, and
okay.
but then the number of friends grew by changing the style to make it shorter,
Mhm.
to make it a little dramatic, to stick to one point,
Okay.
and to try to paint. Okay, in the photography, there is photography, and there's an image here. Everybody will look at a photograph. Not everybody will look at a written pamphlet here, a written piece of work. So
Okay.
we try to make it attractive to them, and they must keep on underlining story, but hoping that different people will interpret it differently. And I'm hoping there is something for everybody.
So do you like feed on what people say? People tell you.
Yeah. That's what I do. I mean, I even to the point of getting people angry.
All right, so you get all right, so you get them angry a little bit, and you write.
In fact, last week or two, we had a talk about Marshall Montano and the Go. And for they want to beat me, right? All I said, the Hindu side wanted to beat me up because I was talking about the group being on the same seat as Marshall. And the other fellows were rough on me because I don't understand what Marshall is saying. I don't understand what he's saying. All I'm seeing is raising hand in the answer. Both sides of it.
But you stick to what you write, or you like listen to people and change your opinion as you go along the line?
I cannot change anybody's opinion. What I do is, I could modify my own, but I do tickle them.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you say modify. So when actually writing, I mean, I see somebody line along, some are short, and then how do you get those lines to work together?
Well, I do believe that language written in that way ought to have a little rhythm to hold people's attention. So I wait for the rhythm of the language. Flow. But it flows.
And you, I suppose you work in images, right? You this scene, then that scene, the other.
But that's how I see the world.
Okay. And do you still have those photographs around that you dip into sometimes?
Well, yeah. But there's something really upsetting happened when I was looking for these chicken. I find one of these flash drives damaged and a lot of the older work. I have to find that somewhere. But well, I have a lot of, I remember it was from the time of the Yashika Mat, that's the 120 film. But now I don't know where those things are.
Right. But do you think that if we have an opportunity in Trinidad to go into clubs and things, that will you be able to go there and perform your poems? I mean people are
I don't really have that kind of voice. I suffer from terrible allergies. And you will find the voice just cracking up. But performance, I remember I did that already. And I was giving a video example of this. Well, it wasn't my poem, it was T.S. Eliot's poem. All them fellas sit down singing the Indian song, but I could translate a little bit. And classical Indian song is part poetry. So I listened, so I joined in with T.S. Eliot. They say, keep going mad, boy, mad. So they don't understand what they're singing, and they will never understand T.S. Eliot. I feel if you go in them club, they want to raise their hand and what some kind of thing. That's what they want.
But T.S. Eliot is pretty heavy too, you know.
Well, what they were singing, if you translate it, was equally heavy, you know.
Well, the Chutney singers, they write poetry, the Calypsonians write poetry too, you know. And
I was talking about the poet Kabir, his song about the washerman and so forth, which I could translate, which I made a video for, which is on YouTube. So we run into difficulty with that, believe me. As a matter of fact, it is so bad now that one of my friends who died used to do a band. And he told me before he died, that if he goes to sing even an Indian film song now, it is being rejected on those favorite night. The crowd has changed. You have to do something else. You won't listen to poetry.
Well, maybe that's the Chutney singers not singing serious songs, so they're singing just bacchanal.
Yeah. Not at all. Some of them are really embarrassing. I mean, some of them are really embarrassing.
But we poets can't do a thing like that, you know. We can't get away with it, you know, because have light pieces, but not
Not that bad. I could
All
tell
right.
you what okay.
Go ahead. Go
We
ahead.
don't have a lot of it. One of the most embarrassing encounter with Chucky. I was doing this wedding. This is a dainty, well-educated girl. Wedding went well. We came down to the reception and they had this singer. And you know, the first song that lady will sing is the Spanish she want. I couldn't believe.
You can send for the Spanish.
Yeah, and that girl, if you see her face.
All right. We have a minute again.
Mhm.
What do you tell us about yourself like that we didn't hear so far? Anything? We have a minute again.
Well, apart from this electronic, this whole room full of electronics.
Just 2 minutes. I didn't get the last part. Sorry.
Electronics, building projects, something.
Okay. All right. A quick question. I know I'm 15 minutes now, but can we find your poems anywhere else except what we have here, like in publications and things?
Well, one or two went to Mr. Diaz. I read about 3 from my Trinidad, and a lot went to the website, but you can't get it. Okay, that's more.
But they're not
I think whoever buys the pictures, sometimes the only time I've already found out, because I have copies of it here. They probably take it with the picture.
All right. Thank you very much, Kamta. 15 minutes up. Nice having you, chatting a little bit. We know something. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Okay, Kamta, before you go, this is Mutilal here. You know, you was talking about reading in Rum Shop, and before the COVID hit, our poetry and prose group used to be in a place called Phoenix Bar in Chaguanas. Once a month, we used to be there. Self Gusha and a few of us, and we were very well received there. So
okay.
maybe when we start back, we will invite you to go with us.
Okay.
Gusha in Clapwood.
My friend who used to do karaoke, you know, he down now. There's a poem for him called The Last Karaoke. That's by Afzal. Yeah, I used to go with him, but that was karaoke. That wasn't poetry.
Okay, well, I visited earlier in the year. I visited Afzal and left something there for him. So
okay.
Okay. Thanks. Please, Gusha, carry on with the program.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing. Yes, I wish we knew you when we were going to Phoenix, because a lot of people would come up that weren't a part of poetry and prose, but would have their phones and little things that they would have written and wanted to perform as well. So perhaps in the future,
yeah, maybe
revisit Phoenix Bar.
Kamta, I think that after having accompanied you in some of these adventures, and I think that we have to define the audience before we start to. So it's been a lot of fun, you know, trying to initiate the audience into the poetry.
But that's how I did a writing workshop, and that was part of our experience. All the writers got on Maxi, and we drove down to this bar, and people were coming and going. They didn't really want to hear us, but she put up a microphone, and she said, the aim of today is to grab your audience. Not everyone is going to want to hear your work. Not everyone is going to want to enjoy your poetry. But you have to speak with confidence, and you have to be able to get your audience. So it's definitely an experience. We were in Balandra when we did that. It was just a local bar. I've always wanted to do that in Tobago. Go to Tobago and to a local bar with poetry and prose and put on a show. All right, well, we're gonna move ahead with the program. It's been nice hearing about you and learning about your photography and things like that. So I'm gonna head on with the show. And for the readings today, we're only going to feature Mr. Persad's work. He has a vast collection. And we're going to start off with Heather. Heather would be reading his poetry and me, small talk.
Well, yes, I just want to say right off the bat how privileged I am to be able to read Kamta's poetry in a forum dedicated to highlighting his work. I met him quite by chance on social media, and what brought us together was a shared interest in both art, his photography, my husband's a photographer also, and his poetry especially. We found that we had a mutual appreciation for each other's work, and we could appreciate the efforts of each other in finding a medium in which to express ourselves in a number of topics, from a keen awareness of social issues affecting our everyday lives to a kind of a nostalgia in the past. Also, what we have in common is our deep appreciation of our origins in that little small town of Pinal that has grown now since I was there. That's a vital component in our friendship. And while Kamta still lives there, I'm the one that's so far from home. I feel I've almost been exiled in a way. I feel that both Kamta and Motilal, both being from Pinal, they're a vital link to my past. And they're, especially since they're both familiar with the house in which I grew up, the Lautu house that was built in 1947 by my father for his parents, and which has sadly been demolished as of 2016. Over the short period of my time, of my friendship with Kamta, I came to admire his unique vision and his keen intellect. I find him to be a multifaceted man. Not only is he an expert engineer, but he has a photography skill that, and he's, I've seen many of his photographs, not just on Facebook, but on the online magazine Viewbug. For me, what I find is riveting about Kamta's poetry in particular is his commentary on the state of affairs in Trinidad today. It is a personal view that is tinged with a certain nostalgia for customs that have been lost. And we will see that in his poem, Table Wedding, which I will read later. And in this respect, I find his is the voice of warning. He's like the canary in the coal mine. You know, it was Sigmund Freud who said that art is the medium in which the need for social change is first felt. And I feel that Kamta's poetic voice is such an instrument, heralding the need for change, for returning to the days when fairness for all was a way of life. Over the many months of our new friendship, Kamta and I have bantered back and forth, commenting on issues which concern us. Also, he introduced me to the excellent work of Debe poet, Tudesh Ramisa, who he personally knows and whose poem Easter Weekend in Debe I admire very much. I will close for now, but later on I'll be reading 3 poems: The Sound of Tubes, Table Wedding, and Culture Evolving. Table Wedding, there's a, just before I read it, I'll do a little story about how he came to write it, because he has graciously said that one of my circumstances in life was the inspiration for it. So we'll get into that later on. So thanks a lot for now.
Thanks, Heather. I believe Krishna is supposed to be hosting. But for now, we'll move on to Cynthia. She'll be reading A Killing and After COVID.
Thank you. A killing. Right there on Siparia Hill, when we were children, The great Humber bike flew up and down the street when I toppled and fell. People rushed to put me on my feet again, right there on Cyprian Hill. Killed him in cold blood. Little child screaming, her father dying, the new normal. COVID kills, but COVID is a mindless, heartless creature, no different from the murderous hordes mutating freely in this land, deadlier and deadlier, bolder and bolder, right there next to the Banwari man. The old man staggered and slipped and fell. The barroom lights were dim, image forming in his brain of multicolored hellish things to come. The next poem is COVID, After COVID. There is a playground beyond the graveyard, silent now, but with a lot of green in between. I was there once. How the children played and played, laughing faces, smiling faces, exuberant adults, faces glowing in the setting sun. Will I live to see such sparkling days, or is that done? The virus came by boat and plane, entered our throats and strangled from inside. Pundit, pastor, priest, scientist, artist, the exploiter and the exploited. But take comfort. The virus will soon be defeated and leave us to our ways. The burning of the Amazon forest, plants and animals suffocating, disappearing, dying, turtles drowning, plastic in their mouths. Take comfort. The virus is not as murderous as us. Thank you.
Thank you. What a wonderful reading.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any comments?
Yes, Gusha, because I live a quarter mile away from Murderer's Hill. You know, and what the stories we used to hear is that somebody got killed and the head rolled down the hill. So, you know, it have a special kind of meaning for me, but that poem about Murderer Hill, and also the thing about the bicycle, because as children growing up, most of the times our bicycle would not have any brakes because we were usually given the bikes that the older people stopped using. So I could appreciate and understand Kamta's stumble. Okay, and I think Krishna is on, you know, you could let Krishna, Dr. Krishna, let him continue the hosting.
Sure.
Krishna, you there?
I am here. Yes.
Lovely. Hi. Okay, so I'm going next. So I guess you could take it from there.
Here, Gusha. Well, I have to say thank you for this opportunity to sit in a chair, which is rather smug and comfy. It was a bomb of a surprise thrown at me by Moti, but I told him I am no Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I will survive. I appreciate the trust. And well, Gusha, I was waiting for you to introduce me, but that's okay. You took the lead and I will take the baton from here, right?
Well, we're trying a new setup today, so I think I'm a little off kilter.
Okay, so I want to start by commenting, just giving some responses to the interview between Vishnu and Kamta, the featured poet. It was good to see. What we get from that is the evolution of the writer, how he's evolving bit by bit, how it started with the photography and the website asking him to write some lyrics to go with the images, to say something about the photography. That was good that he mentioned that. we get his experiment with other fora like Facebook, and then later on My Trinidad. So he's exposing himself bit by bit. We got his influences, two major influences he mentioned, T.S. Eliot, his favorite poet. So that would explain a lot about how his lines unfold when we meet the poems. Because Eliot is one of the poets who use free verse to a great extent. And then he mentioned Jonathan Swift as somebody he admired. Now, Swift was noted for being a satirist, and you do get some of that in Kamta's writings, where the satire comes out. When he talked about his trying to capture what is going on in the society that he's living in, the thought that came to me is like he's been like writing editorials through the poems. They come across like editorials. So he was, commenting on this. He has a strong sense of what is right and what is wrong, and a lot of that will be coming out in what we hear from the readers. And then, of course, he mentioned his friends. Well, I happen to know Tudesh Ramasa. Tudesh is a very talented person, and I know him. When Derek Walcott selected 12 persons to have a workshop, Tudesh was one. I just find it a bit unfortunate that Tudesh, we're not seeing more of Tudesh in the world of literature in Trinidad.
He told me he's finished.
Yeah, so that I just wanted to say that about the interview, how it really sets the place, sets the tone for what is to take place. What I wanted to say about Heather in introducing her was that Heather and our featured poet seem to have a very friendly relationship going way back. And in addition to the small talk that she gave, she said she would reappear to read 3 of Kamta's poems. Why I'm going back to this is what I had prepared now, Kusha. So I hope you all bear with me. And what I had to say about Cynthia was that Cynthia had the honor of being in my position last session, and I learned a lot from the way she conducted it throughout. One thing I noticed, she read A Killing, that is the murder in but some say Siparia, some Siparia, right? Mm-hmm. Later on, Haricharan Narayan is due to read Girl in a Bar and Murder in Siparia. So okay, I don't know if he will
probably got mixed up.
Okay.
Okay.
But we'll see. Okay, so now let us continue. So we have to thank, this is my introduction to you, Gusha. We have to thank Gusha for undertaking this initiative. She's really the lead actress who tends to take in things from the wings. She's reprising a recitation of 2 poems she treated us to last time we met. So here's Gusha with her charming voice. Over to you, Gush.
Thank you. The first piece I will be reading is called Day Work in the Time of COVID. I find it's very fitting for the time. Tighten your belt, boy. Work harder every day for less pay. The Venzis are here. They will take your job away. Tighten your belt, boy. Your daughter cannot be a doctor. Gate has been taken away. Tighten your belt, boy. You have no NIS. Nobody cares if you live or die. In overcrowded public hospitals, just a number and just a name. Quickly replaced, quickly forgotten. Hide, hide, my boy. COVID lurks outside. No work today. Starve, starve, my boy. I could see the anguish in your eyes when that baby cries. No safety net for the work. And what of that SUV passing by, the inside of which you cannot see? Do not be alarmed. That's just your leader, the elected one, going home. Homeward bound after his visit with the chosen ones. Will he ever visit you? Don't be alarmed. He never even saw you. And how you stood and marveled at his entourage. He will not stop and speak to you and ask contemptuously, you work with your hands? And after he is behind the gates, and after a good night's sleep, wrapped in golden sheets, mind circumscribed by golden chains, he will appear on TV to cascade the other side. Did I hear you say, all I need is some food today? That's my first piece. Someone just came in, someone, I'm in the waiting room. And I thought it was an interesting, Mutilal paired these together because the next one is called Eat a Food. The stridulation of the cicadas, blackbirds singing, masks the sound of locusts feeding, eating safely from inside. And when the gaping holes appeared, they pointed fat fingers all around and said, you ate more than me. And when the young man, eyes glued to $1 million vehicle passing by, sir, I have a master's degree and more. Where is that job waiting for me? The person in the car smiled and moved on. Her father, a new contractor, knew a minister, no education needed, none acquired. The link between hard work and prosperity is broken. Eat a food if you can. Cicada, blackbird, you can sing your hearts away in the sunset flickering from red to yellow and back. This island nation, Haiti, over the horizon. And I love that last line, Haiti over the horizon. And I love the imagery. The cicada, blackbird, you can sing your hearts away. Thank you for allowing me to read your work. It's very powerful.
Thank you, Gosha. If there's any comments? Anybody would like to make any comments on those two poems?
You know, in the interview earlier, Vishnu, Kamta said that his poems reflect what is going on in society. And I think that that is a very good reflection and is a lot of food for thought for us. You know, some people says that say that writers have no business into for whatever politics, but I think that writers have a powerful voice, as Kamta does, and we should continue to write and say things as they are. Thank you.
Yes, you're correct. Anybody else want to say? Well, what I noticed from these two, and we're going to get it later on, is Kamta he exposes a great deal of corruption, what is corrupt in the society. And he takes a very critical view of politicians and how they just they continue this vicious cycle of corruption and blaming each other for what goes on. That's what I took. So if there are no more comments,
One thing again,
Adam wanted to make a
yes,
comment.
Moti?
there's a young lady, Jameen Harnarayan, and she just commented. I think she's one of Kamta's students, I presume.
Okay.
And she said that Kamta's Mr. Persad says so much with so few words. Remarkable. And he certainly does, because, you know, we find a lot of his poems are short, but they say so much. And I also want to encourage people that to make comments on the chat also. Thank you.
Adam also wanted to make a comment.
Who's that?
Adam? Yeah, there's
Adam?
Good afternoon. My name is Adam Singh,
Okay.
and I would like to say that this is a very refreshing club, and I like Mr. Kamta to continue his work and not to be offended by the naysayers. Your work will not be in vain because you're recording today's work for tomorrow, and the future will see what Trinidad is really like today. And I would like you to continue your work. It's really refreshing. We don't have to be Shakespeare to write poetry. We just have to write poetry from our heart. And the heart is greater than the pen. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Cassie is next. Cassie is there. I saw him a while ago.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm here.
Right, Cassie, you're there. I'm not seeing you. I need to see you.
Well, I don't know why.
I'm not seeing you.
All right, I'm right here. Yeah. I'm here.
Right, good. Okay. So let me introduce Cassie. I think of Cassie as a chief elder among us, even though Moti might be deserving of that title as well. His contributions have always been pointed and appreciated. Cassie will read Crime and Equality. Cassie, what do you have? I have Andrea Barrett. Andrea Barrett and Crime and Equality. You tell me what you got. You go ahead.
It right. You got it right.
Right. Cassie, you go ahead. All yours.
Good afternoon again, and thank you very much, host. Thank you very much, Mr. Persad, for providing poems that reflect our society. And your interview was, I really felt, at one with you then in your interview, because the things that you were saying, I think I would say the same thing too. I think there are even some experiences that we may have that I can share that you have been a part of, And then coming to the poems, I think, I could see myself writing on the themes that you have here, the topics you have here. And, it's a real pleasure for me to read them now. I'll begin with the shortest one, which is crime. And in crime, Mr. Persad says, you can wave the flag and beat the drum, dance in the streets, dance in the palace. There's a shadow hanging over this land. You can dance the cactus dance, the jade monkey dance. You will understand when you see your shadow striding to meet you, gun in hand. Yeah, I like this. I like that. I like, the way you did that. I checked on cactus dance and jade monkey dance, and I asked myself if at the time of writing or near to the time of writing, if you were influenced in any way by children's stories or the TV or your grandchildren or something, because both dances have to do with children's toys and that sort of thing, but probably you'll tell us later on. Andrea is the next, excuse me, is the next one I read. This is Andrea Barrett, who was kidnapped and murdered. The protected monster emerged to run that child apart with murderous claws, her bones made bare. What happened to previous files, face recognition, with the machines and the folders shut to set the monster free, to rip her face off, to reveal a contorted human skull? to display a face of everlasting, perpetual, agonizing scream, her last effort. For the pleasure of this monster, cover it up. Cover it up. We do not want to see, although we arranged it, we still have one smiling face. We still have our smiling faces, faked grief to cover up what lurks behind. And equality is the final one I'll read. Now I must say that what I got, the type was, the font was so fine. I tried to print, it couldn't be enlarged. And it's really a difficulty trying to read the small print. But luckily I've read them a few times, so I sort of understand the gist of it. Equality. Solomon Grundy stole shovel and spade, got caught, got jailed. His wife in her plywood shack said, "Dear ego thief, he couldn't find a better place." She and her daughter had no supper. Old King Cole stole black gold, spread the loot around. The politicians visited, ate lobster tail, drank Campari, then denied it. Alas, the old king got caught, but along came a buzzard in jacket and tie, had been circling around for a while, high in the sky, but the smell of dough brought him to ground. He said, "I am no kobo or hawk, I am the buzzard. I will get back your dough and some more." So said, so done. The law is the law. Justice, another matter. Solomon Grundy got out, plied his old trade, got shot in the head. The daughter, she walks the streets everywhere. Solomon Grundy is dead, died this Saturday, or was it next week? The king, he is in his counting house, counting up his money. "Stop," said the engine man. "That is no buzzard, that is a dove, sent from above to enforce equal opportunity." Then he crushed Piggy Bones for saying, "All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others." Farewell, Solomon Grundy, rest in peace. Farewell, Piggy, rest in peace. Good night, King John, live the king. Good night, King, long live the king. No one can enforce the equality of man, not dove, not buzzard, not law. Law does not exist. Justice does not exist. Never did.
Thank you. Thank you. Cassie, go ahead. Cassie, you were saying something?
Yeah, well, at the end of it, it just says where the quotation about the animal. I think we all here are adult enough to know where it comes from, George Orwell's Animal Farm. And I just put in the word justice at the end of it because I felt that after not law does not exist, because he had said justice, there's no justice. I just added in justice does not exist. The word justice I added in, never did. I don't know if it was there or not. But
Thanks. That was a very good reading.
Yes, it was. I endorse that, Kamta. Very good reading, Cassie.
Thank you.
Any comments by anyone?
Only time, but in the first, when I like how Kamta writes and how you could see the cinematic thing about his poetry, and I suppose that would be because of his skill and his experience as a photographer, because in one of the earlier poems that Cassie read, when he talks about the picture, the shadow and the gun, you know, there's a sort of cinematic thing we used to see in the old movies, the little shadow and the gun. So that Kamta has really captured that. One other thing, if I may, and when he talks about the claws of the monster, somehow that takes me back to some Indian mythology, you know, in the story of Prahalad, where we had this Narasingh with the claws and all that. And although in the story of Prahalad, Prahalad was that particular monster, and if for want of a better word, was not wicked or anything. But in Andrea's case, we had a monster. But just the thought just came to me, you know, and that Kamta's his ability to incorporate so many things in so little words is really a remarkable thing. Thank you.
Yes, I don't know if it's possible for Kamta to tell us about the cactus dance and the jade dance at this point.
Well, okay. Well, the jade dance, I noticed that was advertisement for on TV. Remember, they were advertising jade monkey dance. Right after Tobago were fit, and the cactus dance is from one of my photographs. If you look in Facebook and come down or the website, what happened? I happened to see a shadow hanging over a cactus plant, and the cactus was blowing in the wind. Oblivious, it seems, to what is happening. What is happening when the that sheet, they were going to throw the sheet out and cover it down and suffocate it. And there it was. That's where the cactus dance came from.
Okay, thank you very much. When I Googled jade dance, there's a casino by that name in Tobago. So just
oh, yeah,
put
yeah,
in that
jade,
name.
yeah.
Jade Monkey, sorry, not Jade Dance, but Jade Monkey.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Jade Monkey Casino in Tobago.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, then. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. What I like about this particular, the one on equality, Kamta had another title for it, Nursery Rhymes, and I thought that was nice. The way he uses the nursery rhymes, they have an allusion to four. I picked up 4 nursery rhymes there: Solomon Grundy, Old King Cole, Sing a Song of Sixpence, and Piggy on the Railway. We grew up with those things,
now,
right?
what happened?
Yes.
What happened already is these things, they might get some mix up because for different magazines, I renamed the same thing to suit like if it's going to a foreign magazine, I rename it. So it got mixed up. But those events actually, I couldn't use the names of the people. Think about how far we live from Old King Cole, the man who got all this oil money and so forth. We don't live far from the young boy down the road who I used to know, who just hit somebody with a bottle in the head. I don't Tulsa face. Didn't have money to defend himself, went to jail, and his whole life unraveled. Just because he didn't have the money. But what kind of justice is that? But
Yes.
that's what brought it
Yes.
down. Then when people die in the streets and so forth, I mean, people don't care. And there's nobody to defend these fellows without money. You think them big lawyers come in to defend anybody without money? But that's how this thing came back. I couldn't call names, so I use what my experience.
You're correct. You're correct. So we are using like an allegory in this poem and others. I get the element of allegory where we now as readers have to wonder who to match the figures. Who is Solomon? Who is the Old King Cole? Who is Piggy? Who is the king? You know. So that's the tease from the poems. Okay. Any other comments on that?
Well, I was going to say that even though these allegories apply to situations in Trinidad, and I'm living in Canada, but the same kind of thing is happening here. So I find that the poetry is very timely for me as well, because all those I could pick out who the king is here and who the crooked people are here. You know, it applies as well. It's universal, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I like about Kamta's poetry.
Is okay, thanks. Is Eva here? Is Eva here?
Yes,
Eva is
Eva.
Hi,
our
good
next.
evening. Yes, I am here. I don't know why I
Okay.
am not seeing myself on the screen, but
Right.
I'm here, just above you.
All right. So let me introduce Eva. If Heather was a dear friend of Kamta, the next reader goes even closer, as she is the niece of the featured poet. Am I correct there?
Well, I will take
No.
that.
This explains why she's treating us to not only a reading of his poems, but has decided to throw in a little talk as well on her dear uncle. Over to you, Eva.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Let me apologize for being a little tardy. We had an anniversary service in our church today, and I'm a bit late because of that. I'm also having a little difficulty with the technology, so I hope that it goes well. Uncle, I see you there looking very handsome and charming. It's very nice to have you on. And Uncle Kamta is not actually my uncle. He is my mother's cousin. But when we were younger, he was a very young man, because in that generation, you know, everybody had children very young. And I grew up with him as a very young person in my young life as well. So naturally, as Indian children, we call each other, everybody uncle and auntie, uncle and auntie. So he's my uncle, and you know, that's just the way it is. But in terms of speaking about him a little before I read, and I have two very crisp, nice pieces to. Is my screen disturbing you all? Is the screen showing up notification?
The interactive view. So now we're spotlight and we're just seeing you, Eva, and your camera is not blurred anymore. So you should
Okay, great. Okay, so Uncle, I have a little special surprise for you. When they asked me to do a talk about my Uncle Kamta, I shared it with my other siblings and cousins. And your other nieces and nephews came up with a composite of their remembrances, including your son and Rance. And we all put together, and it's coming from Glenn. Now, I have to say a little bit about Glenn because it would help to understand what he is talking about and the impression Uncle Kamta made on all our lives. So Glenn is a politician. He was a local government representative, a senator of government, a minister of government, chairman of the Superior Regional Corporation, but also he is an attorney at law, and he is a veterinary surgeon, and he's also a Trice-1 Ironman, which is a triathlonist. And he also prides himself on being a sort of a musician. Those of you who are familiar with Facebook would know that the general consensus of the population is that Glenn cannot sing. But when he meets up with Uncle Kamta, they both sing. I'm going to try to play this from Glenn, and if it doesn't sound well, I'm going to stop and just talk it through, right? You all can let me know how it's sounding, and this is our contribution, the nieces and nephews of Uncle Kamta, speaking a bit about him. For those of you who know him in the literary world, as well as some of his youthful upbringing and his impressions on his nieces and nephews.
Supernatural.
All right, so I'm going to start.
What I can say about Kamta is that growing up, we were always told the story of this exceptionally brilliant human being that was a blood relation to us. And the fact that he had gotten 13 subjects was always an inspiration, that he was some supernatural, ultra capability and something very powerful. and something very powerfully engaging and in the intellectual world about someone who had gone before and won a national scholarship. Of course, that is an extreme source of motivation. We were also told that he was so brilliant that he also became eccentric and, went off into different areas of study. Of his own, and came back to Trinidad to be an educator. But he was never a normal educator. He was also always somebody always involved in a field and in the cutting edge of technology, repairing electronics and equipment way ahead of his time, technology that did not exist here. He would be up to speed with it in the first world, Europe, America, Canada, and or the G5, G7 countries. He would just have that talent, resident with him. But he was also a relaxed, reflective person who would make comments that were of a very high level and thought-provoking, I would say. Always using a phrase or coining a phrase to describe a particular situation. At the most casual places, Christmas time, New Year's, I would remember that he would coin phrases to capture the mood of the village or the community. And, I can't remember exactly, but, this is a Christmas that will live in memory for a very long time, things like that. And I just remember him coining phrases to capture the moments. And that's what he did in photography as well. Capturing moments, capturing feelings, capturing emotions, capturing imagery, capturing things to share. And the social media lately, I had seen him capturing things that are endemic to Trinidad and Tobago, things that are patronymic to Trinidad and Tobago, that are unique and signature to Trinidad and Tobago, and describing it in poetry, which is the richest form of expression because less words giving more meaning is really jewelry, The finest jewelry is very small, but it tells a very long story of how it came into existence. And therefore, he is unique, he's different, he's special, and will always be one of the finest examples of the intellectual capacity and performance and a record achievement for what is the Sahadev and Rambarose family. And we will always remember him for capturing the weddings, the funerals, the birthdays. We'll remember him and appreciate him for capturing the moods, the attitudes, the energy, the potential of our community. And we will always remember him for breaking barriers. But I want to leave that and say that one of the most special times I spent with him was with the UNCOP debacle and what a Pandey should have remained. And we met at the Hypnotic and we spent the entire day arguing. And I was a fierce debater. And he too was very strong in his condemnation for Mr. Pandey continuing. And at the end of the day, he basically said that he did not expect such a strong defense. And we broke down our debates and said, look, we respected each other's position. And of course, we began to listen to country western music and talk about the old times. And that particular occasion, we spent long, long hours. And I will always remember him for his ability to deal with hard issues, with heavy lifting, with powerful and challenging issues, but always ready to rock back and recall a wonderful folk song. Generally, I remember him in country music. Old dog and love for family, community, and burning desire to see excellence in what is Durba centuries, San Francisco, Pinal, and Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, well, Uncle, and the others, I don't think that I could have done a much better job than that. And I too share those sentiments. And one thing that that Glenn would have said is that, you know, your capacity for the heavy lifting using very small mediums. And I made that promise to you when you got me interested in this group and in my Trinidad, that I would try to write in that more contemporary way and try to step out of my comfort zone. I have not, Motilal, I have not yet been able to do that. I still try to walk a thin line. But I really do hope and aspire to be able to make more hard, critical analyses and tell more stories that will remain with those I leave behind, as Uncle, you surely will leave with us those things that we picked up from you and we learned, and we never stopped trying to accomplish what would have seemed to be impossible, but you did it all. So my hats off to you today, and I'm going to go into my reading now. Is that okay? You all are ready for me to read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ready, go ahead.
Yes.
So we're doing I just had it and I lost it. Anyway, somebody want to read ahead of me until I get it, or you waiting?
Chameli? Are you reading Chameli?
I think Chameli is what I have, but
Yes.
just 1 second. Got so many updates on this email here. Right, here it is. Okay. So we're going with, the title here is The Aroma Chameli. On her makeshift bed above an earthen floor, she cried and hugged her long-lost daughter to her breast. Silence. Then, Ma, you must change, Mama, you must change. Your sins forgiven unconditionally. In heaven you will forever be. Here in this book it is written. She knelt, prayed, called out loudly to her newfound God to forgive her mother's sins, her pagan ways. The frail mother held her daughter's hand and softly asked, Betty, Betty, God change? As her daughter walked away dismayed, karmic relationships cannot be maintained. A little louder. Betty, Betty, God change? God change, Betty? So you all want to discuss the piece and then move on, or go straight into the other reading?
Go straight on to the other reading, huh? What it is.
So the other one is lessons, which I absolutely love. So my father lives, never drove a motor car, never danced in the streets and shouted, culture, never heard a limerick and called it great. Cane fields, rice fields, manual labor made him strong. He lives. He taught me how to ride a bike, and I taught others. My mother, she too lives. She taught me how to save a cent, and I taught none. A teacher cannot teach what he doesn't know, or can he? In the time of dominance of machines, Pied Piper and Oracle the inconceivable can happen. And I love this piece, Uncle, because I think that this clearly epitomizes a lot of what Glenn said. Your pieces are very much where they can tell you what it wants to tell you, but just leaves you to guess some of it as well. And your father lives on because his teachings remain with you, and you shared it to other generations that followed. You used the analogy of the bicycle, but I think you meant a lot more than the bike. And the very last line, the inconceivable can happen, is the story of where, as my mom even, you know, Uncle Prema, yourself, many others, Motilal and they, you come from a small village where you only see rice and cane, and you think that that's it. But then the inconceivable can happen, and the young boy can go away and return home and become, you know, smash up the things and mash up the dance and do things that are different and that no one expects from you. This was my contribution this evening, and I'm very grateful that I was invited to do so. And I look forward to spending the rest of the evening with the rest of the few hours with you all. Thank you.
Hey, Eva, thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
What I noticed is that we have crossed 1 hour with one. It's 2:10 now, so we have a long program, and I would really like all present to get a chance to read what they have prepared. That said, if there are any comments.
I have just a short comment on the first piece. This is Gersha. I really enjoyed it just because, again, it just was crisp and it really spoke of this divide. And there was a time, especially in Trinidad in history, where there were a lot of Hindus converting to Christianity and things that really spoke of that in such a small but powerful way.
Yes, I just like to endorse what Gersha says, because this idea of conversion, it happens a lot in the country areas, and Kamta put it so nicely. You know, Beti, God change. Thank you.
Okay. Any other?
I wanted to make a quick comment.
Go ahead.
That idea of conversion in the rural communities is also having a debilitating effect on the communities themselves. My cousin passed away with COVID, and it is because the minister in his little church said to him that he shouldn't take the vaccine. And so they are doing as much harm as they think they're doing good. And this is very dangerous. And thank you, Kamta, for showing that.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I'm not seeing RT. She's not next, but I'm not seeing RT around. Moti, see if you could get in touch with RT now, please.
Just wanted to say Zona commented on the chat, very moving from Eva till the end there. At the end.
Sorry, Bush, what?
Zorna in the chat, very moving from Eva at the end there.
Okay, before I mute, Heather, I think you have a phone number for RT. See if you'll get her now. Thanks.
But our team may not be here.
Okay, all right. Okay, Vish.
Yeah.
All right, so let us move on. We're moving on to Alyssa Janki. I'm not now getting
Hi,
to.
good evening.
So Alyssa is here.
Oh, sorry.
I'm now getting to meet Alyssa. Alyssa will delight us with Jubilee and the last karaoke. Over to you, Alyssa.
Okay, hi, good afternoon. Could you all hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay, So the first poem is Jubilee, and it goes like this. The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts. The King of Hearts, he stole some islands and the Koh-i-Noor diamond. The lords and the ladies all applauded. Birthright, birthright, praise the God stolen from Jerusalem. The princess of clubs, this tart, this dark actor, played her cards, stole a kingly heart, interviewed a block of soap, and made more money. Diversity, said the queen in despair. You see, she never went to university. Royal blood trumps everything. She could have said, off with their heads. So that's Jubilee, right? The next poem is The Last Karaoke, and it goes like this. His legs are gone, his eyes are dim, the room is empty, almost bare. He grabs the mic and sings in a voice made soft and hoarse. Strawberries, cherries, and an angel's kiss in spring. My summer wine is really made of all these things. Smiled, closed his eyes. For while he was that child that stood upon an infant desk and sang to the applause of all, the lady with the Spanish face sang La Bamba. Selena, youthful body swaying, coyly avoids the handsome man with jeweled hands, disappears and reappears in her cage behind the shuttered bar. The karaoke man, he sang, we are all prisoners here. The karaoke man, once Tarzan is down, coagulated blood racing through tattered veins to a heart already broken to be reborn. And that was The Last Karaoke.
Okay, thank you. Comments?
You know, I know the karaoke man just as Kamta does, as a matter of fact. I visited him there, and he made quite a few appearances on Poetry and Prose with us at the Bay Library, you know, when we used to do live at the Bay Library. And been falling back. I think I'll have to go and look for him sometime this week. And Kamta, I think you really captured the essence of Afzal with that poem. One other thing, you know, Kamta says that he don't really write with rhymes, but you know, you could infer rhymes, and there's so much rhythm in his poetry. Kamta, I think we have to have about 2 programs for you, boy. Thanks.
Okay. Well, there again in Jubilee, we have the allegorical elements, you know, where you have to work out who is the Queen of Hearts and who is the King of Hearts. And well, the Koh-i-Noor diamond, we know, is a reference to British imperialism and colonialism. The Princess of Clubs, we have to work out who is the Princess of Clubs. I have no idea if Kamta wants to share these equivalents.
Megan.
Oh, right. Yes, I had Megan question mark. Yes, I had a question mark. So that, you know, that is a form that you can use when, as you say, you don't want to make any direct identification of people in your poem. You have to find ways to do this. And that's what the Calypsonians do. And that's what the writers do. That's what the poets do. Okay, any other comments on those? Right. If not, we go to Harry is not here, you stay with us, right? So we go to Harry. Harry is not here. I'm not seeing Harry.
Harry's here.
Harry? I'm not seeing
I
Harry.
do believe Harry's here.
Oh, all right, he's not here. Okay, so let's go on to our next reader. Well, how can this giant of a man be introduced? I see him making inputs in a number of fora. He's a writer who dons several hats. I especially love to see him in his Nehru cap, expatiating on the tenets of his religion. So here is champion Motilal Guru Singh, he has chosen one of a very controversial piece, one of the most controversial pieces, I think, but I'll leave it to him. Moti, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Krishna. Okay, I am reading Red Lights today, and I leave the other small poem because, in the interest of time, for Red Lights. The lights now shone on new patrons, the Colombians, the Guyanese, wined and dined under the rain light, then taken to residence to that place over Murderers' Hill. Then came the locals, dreaming of modeling under the bright lights. Some ended up in that place over the hill. One day, an emissary came from the haven, the place over Murderers' Hill, the Elephant Man. He needed lights, red lights, for a red light place. Passing by those cubicles at night, I heard the ecstatic moaning and groaning of strangers joined by the waist, the confluence of need, lust, power, and greed. Never expected what daylight was to reveal. Reporting early on the job, came into this hellish place. Air reeked, every human effusion, vomit stuck in my throat. I saw those young ladies sitting there, eyes deep red, but not from the reflected light, and skins all covered with rashes or blemishes. In came the early clients, people that I knew, a businessman, an educator, a PhD driver, gathered for a common, compelling purpose, no concern for the disease. Spoke to one much educated in his field and was told, this, the oldest profession, always existed in every society, sometimes hidden, sometimes openly. Have you considered what goes on in our hallowed institutions? The trading of sexual favors for positions, certification, and more? When that place burned to the ground, girls screaming, burning to death inside, many were relieved and none lamented. Again, this particular institution, for want of a better word, existed not.
Profession.
But the building I'm talking about, the hotel, is not
Oh,
far
sorry.
from where I live. You know, it's just about a quarter mile. And then again, the reference to Murderers' Hill, it was right down Murderers' Hill. And you know, Kamta does this so well. Talk about the red lights that he was hired to put in and what we know as the red light district. One day, an emissary came from the haven. The name of the place was Country Haven. That place over Murderers' Hill, the Elephant Man. And some of the earlier people, Harry Narayan in particular, would know about Elephant Walk because he had a similar place down in my Harrow. So this was this house of ill repute that Kamta immortalized for us, although it has burned down. And I think he did it so well. But what I also like to is the comparison of what goes on as the oldest profession. And then when he says, have you not considered what goes on in our hallowed institutions? The trading of sexual favors for positions, certification, and more. And I want to emphasize certification, you know, because I have heard and I have seen, met people who come out of university and how they get a certificate, but that's another story. So Kamta, I want to thank you for the opportunity to read this, and I welcome any comments.
Yes, it is good, Moti, that you made the connection between prostitution as we know it, and then how he extends the idea of prostitution to the trading of sexual favors for positions, certification, and more. You're quite right, Moti, on that. Anybody? wants to come in?
What I enjoyed about the poem was the fact that he remembered the victims that people forgot instead of just focusing on the scandal. He actually
Yeah,
remembered
correct.
the women as humans that lost their lives.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other comments? Let us move on. So back to Heather, who gave us the little talk earlier on. Heather will now delight us with 3 of Kamta's poems: Song of Tubes, Table Wedding, and Culture Evolving. Over to you, Heather.
Thank you, Krishna. At first, I want to say I like the straightforward storytelling approach of Kamta's poetry. The Sound of Tubes is one of my favorites. When I read it, I told Kamta, for me, it's just like a prayer. The Sound of Tubes. There was no gate. He just drove in. I have come to this faraway place to find one who could build me an amplifier with no tubes, with the sound of tubes. Nerves rattled from yesterday's binge. That's me, I lied. Days and months went by. Pieces from England and America. The amplifier assembled. Sounding dingy in Dorbasa, but orchestral in Palmyra. Almost like tubes, but not tubes. Tremendous effort, futile effort faking it. To mimic is more difficult than being real. The friendship bloomed, told me enchanting tales about life in southern France, and sculptures here and there, taught me how to make paper, and showed me how etching is done, brought me the long forgotten camera to my hands, and then said, go to the gallery in Port of Spain, choose any work of mine. And so we went, my hook-nosed friend and I, lost and sweating in the street. We finally arrived. That look the young lady gave us remains etched in my brain. No, we are not vagrants, I silently screamed. He has read the Mahabharata, all 18 books, and I could build you the Sound of Tubes. But the icy stare continued. Ashamed, I later complained. Sunny Lal Rambi soon laughed aloud and said, Trinidad ends at the Caroni Bridge. In Dorbasa, in his faraway place, he left his etching, Genesis of the Flamingo, a burst of energy from the swamp into the sky. Shall I go on to the next?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Heather.
Okay, table wedding. Kamta said, I told him that I had married a Canadian. You know, Daddy brought me behind God back. There were no brown people here. So I married a white man. I told Kamta that. So he wrote this poem in response. Table wedding. He was white and she was brown, but fairer. No altar hair, no beddy, no cow dung, no kneeling subjugation. The table wedding, a photographer's dream. No blocking fig leaves, no altar casting a dark shadow. The pundits poured pancharit, blessed both bride and groom, and left. But then someone tugged my sleeve and whispered, table wedding cannot be blessed. Too far from Mother Earth, too high from ground. A proper Betty is a must. Someone then from the boy's side said, tomorrow a Christian priest will bless in the name of the Lord. Quietly I left, drank some beer and sang, Que sera, sera. Now I must say, Kamta, that my real wedding was actually a hippie wedding in the 1970s. It took place in my parents' living room here in Canada. A bedside table was a makeshift pulpit. My wedding dress was a $50 off-the-rack dress. No veil, just a straw hat with an organza bow. My mother was really vexed with that. A $20 wedding cake from a grocery store. Music from a cassette player plugged in on the floor. And my mother interrupting the ceremony halfway through, telling the servant to plug in the kettle for tea. obviously that was more important than what was taking place. But still, at the end of it, I was legally married and I have been married for 50 years or so. But talking about conversion, I'll tell you this little tale. The unique feature of this table wedding was that the minister officiating it was Reverend Victor Wall, a Canadian missionary who spent 30 years in Trinidad and became the principal of Nazarene Boys College in San Fernando. He performed my parents' wedding ceremony at the Sumachara Church in 1948. And by the time he performed mine, he was 92. His first wife had died and he had married a younger, dark-skinned Trinidad woman who was his second wife. During the wedding, I heard my parents grumbling behind his back because they remembered when he and his first white wife sent their 15-year-old son back from Trinidad to Canada when they discovered he had a schoolboy crush on an Indian girl. Just imagine the hypocrisy of it all. One could say that this minister had his own unconventional table wedding too. Anyway, I will, in keeping with the time constraint, I will forego the last one and we'll go on to the next reader. And if there's room at the end, then I will read it. It's very short anyway.
Okay.
Is that okay?
All right, Heather. Okay, yeah. Heather, thanks a lot. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 readers still to go. So, any comments on Heather's poems and her little story about it?
Well, Kamta, I want to hear what you think of the little story.
Kamta? Heather wanted to know what you thought of the little story that she told about the priest.
But you know, it was so hypocritical the way he married an Indian woman after.
I don't want to talk about what I think about priests. I really don't want to talk about what I think about priests.
Okay, Heather. So we can move on. It was nice, Zorina. It was nice to meet Zorina last session. I know the name. I know she's a writer. Giving teasers to her forthcoming publication of the biography of John Humphrey. It is good to see that she has returned with us and she will be offering My New Neighbor, Zorina.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes.
I just want to thank Mr. Voodoo Singh for asking me, although I told him I'm not a speaking person and I'm not a poetry person. So thank you for your confidence. And just very quickly, there was a takeaway from the interview I wanted to mention, the Yashica camera, which was a box camera, I think.
Yeah.
That I didn't get the video issues sorted out. So could I just continue? Yes. The Yashica camera, and that he drew the line between Indian classical music and chutney music. That has been a big issue for me, and I'm glad that he did that. This poem, My New Neighbors, leaning out of my back door into the night, I heard the Spanish music, Spanish speech, a child crying, sound of children crying anywhere, any place. Tears are tears, no matter where shed. The sound of my new neighbors from Venezuela. In broad daylight, punching man intoxicated, hormones mixed with alcohol, became Frankenstein, arms outstretched. He chased the fair-skinned girl around the bar. Loco, 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 she screamed, then disappeared. In broad daylight, another night, young man rebuffed, burned fair human skin with cigarette, skin intentionally exposed. Later, he was found, blood pouring from mouth to ground, blood spilled by local males. Spanish music, Spanish speech, concealed red light activities, dances in the night. Any old music will do. Local males responded. One so enthralled committed bigamy. His hapless parents could not comprehend. Cursed the wives, but not the boy. A drive-by shooting, sound of a woman screaming. My new neighbors from Trinidad, next to the bones of the Banwari man. Rotting bones could harm no one. Thank you. I think I slipped on one line there, but I'm hoping that you all got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any comments, reactions, responses?
Well, you know, my new neighbors is happening now in a district near you.
That's Zarina you're talking to, right? Yeah.
To everybody.
Yeah, it's in
Yeah,
every
well,
village.
yeah. They're here in abundance.
I admire Kamta's ability to shift in time. And you know, you write things that are so relevant. Once again, Kamta, congratulations.
All right. I will hold back for the end. What happened is no, a rubbish truck making a noise in the background there, and Ole will get it. Ole will hear the extraneous songs coming in there. So Vishnu, you don't mind if I introduce you? Vishnu is a leading writer of Trinidad and Tobago, one of the prominent writers of Trinidad and Tobago, and we Vishnu and I go a long way back. He has done a lot to make others aware of me as a writer. As with Anson Gonzalez, I owe him a great debt of gratitude. So Vishnu, over to you for your two offerings, The Milking and Man in the Mirror, correct?
Good. Thank you, Krishna. So I'm going to read The Man in the Mirror first. The man in the mirror has grown old. The old man in the barroom mirror out of place. Yet like a moth, the flame he returns over and over again. Thumping gibberish is now music. Exit, thinking he's done, but tomorrow comes. But even after beeping birth of a new machine, heavy interaction with data streams, the taking of the photographs, he returns to dissolve the digital part of him, to restore the human being. So that's the first. The other one is, and we don't know it, it's called the milk. My friend Blacks, he milks cows, makes ghee, dahi, knows instinctively, no grass, no cow, no milk, no dahi, no gas, no LNG. Simple enough. Is stupid? No, not my friend Blacks. No. That is the milking of the treasury. You will sue, and I will sue. Queen's Council, local council, make scandal, make case, overpay, legally. Learn the people. No, not my friend Blacks. No. Eat the red, yellow. They milk in the treasury. We building a highway to heaven. 10%? 10%. Contractor sale. If you don't have money, contribute to the party. No, not my friend Blacks. No. That is the milking of the treasury. Blacks, bring me my rum. In this old shed, we're voting yellow. They're voting red. Jump high, jump low, dance in the streets, dance in the palace. What milking? Give me some mixed with this rum. We got. Thank you. So
Thank
those
you,
are the two.
Vish. Yeah, go ahead. Go
Those
ahead,
are the
Vish.
two. The Man in the Mirror and the Milking. I particularly like the Milking though. The bit of social commentary in there. Like the tone of it. No, not my friend Blacks. No, not my friend Blacks. No. Song
Yeah,
like
the
Robert.
repetition.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So my two pieces. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
I
Reaction?
particularly like the milking, the milking on the treasury. And just for some of the politicians, I want to say that, if you're making ghee and dahi, the best thing to get a slow heat to make that is to use a coal pot. Kamta would know that a coal pot is the ideal thing to make ghee and dahi. Thank you.
Yes, this is another poem where Kamta introduces or talks about the politicians and the corruption that is endemic in this land. Any other comments? I want to go on to Haricharan. Haricharan Narayan, there's something about Haricharan's voice to me that is quite captivating. There's a kind of trenchancy somehow to it. Makes you want to hear more. And of this, he seems quite oblivious. Very unassuming, this gentleman seems. I hope to meet up with him sometime in Mayaro, preferably. Haricharan, over to you.
Thank you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and
see what I mean, Trenchan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. And for allowing me to read, paying tribute to Kamta Persad. And I shall want to read two of his poems. First one, Girl in a Bar. Some got married, some got robbed, some shacked up, some got beaten, some died. No, no, young man, not love, but a thing of the flesh. Because somewhere a sibling or a baby waits. No, no, old man, not youth again, but a thing of the flesh. Because somewhere a baby or a sibling waits. No, no, demon, not to be abused and killed, because somewhere a parent waits. Brown-skinned girl, fuming in the moonlight. Black-skinned girl, eyes glittering with contempt. Hate if you must. Things of the skin are never skin deep. At the level of the ground, feet relaxed on pavement, captured the faces of people passing by, squinting, laughing, pouting, cursing. One stood out, pale face made pink by reflected light, and beside her, dark male face, made darker by evening shadows, and between them, a smiling cherub of indistinguishable features. So that's the Girl in a Bar, and I shall move on to A Murder in Siparia. Right there in Siparia Hill, when we were children, the great Humber bike flew up and down the street. When I toppled and fell, sorry, people rushed to put me on my feet again, right there on Siparia Hill. Kill him in cold blood, little child screaming, her father dying. So those are the 2 poems of Kamta Persad. And I think the first one, I make a very small comment, is about women being abused, killed, and so on. And sometimes they find themselves in places that they should not be. One place, that is the bar. One comment on the murder about the Humber bike. Those of you who grew up in my time would know of the Humber and the Raleigh bicycles.
Raleigh, yes, I know about the Raleigh. Yes.
The Humber and the Raleigh. They were two very popular types of bicycles that were used for transport. In those days, the bicycle was a very, very common form of transport for the common man. But I should like to make one or two more comments before about the expression in words or whatever. And one person mentioned poetry and prose, that which we belong to, of course. But and I said poetry is much more finer than prose. I agree, but I want to mention two more forms of expression, which is song and music. So we have poetry, we have prose, we have song, and we have music. And ever heard about the sound of silence? That could be a next one. And the next thing about the Jubilee one, the one about Jubilee, and I heard the word mention about Kohinoor diamond, and nobody commented on the Kohinoor diamond, which during the colonial period in India, when England was a colonial master, they took the diamond from India and put it on the Queen's crown, the Queen of England, and it is still there. And India is asking back for it now, is requesting that they return it to India. But also Pakistan is asking for it, and Iran and Afghanistan. So there are 4 countries requesting that the English Great Britain return the Kohinoor diamond to India. But it was found in Pakistan, which of course in those days was part of India. So there are 4 countries requesting that Kohinoor diamond. It is one of the most expensive diamonds in the world. It is to be found, of course, in the Queen's crown in England. And then Motilal mentioned about Elephant Walk. Yes, he originally was from Rio Claro. He was a policeman in Saman. I shall tell you a very, very short story about Elephant Walk. He was a very, very tough policeman, very strong and very powerful. He was a big man. He was my neighbor in Rio Claro. So when he was a policeman in San Juan, and if he saw a criminal who was wanted on the street, he would confront the criminal and tell him, go and report to the station and tell them I sent you. And they were so afraid of him, they would go there. So that is my little contribution to today's program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did make a reference to the Kohinoor. I just said it was a allusion to British imperialism and colonialism, yes. But you gave a detailed explanation of it. Thank you for that, Haricharan. The Kohinoor diamond. Yes. Okay. Any other comments? We are 2:47. So let us go on to our next reader. So we have two more readers. That is Leslie and then myself, right?
Okay. Randy is not here, and if we have time, Randy, please, because Randy gone to a meeting with the OWTU. Plan to start back the refinery. I tell him, but you're wasting your time. But he said that he would join us. He will come to the meeting, but it looks like he haven't come out of it. So and we also have Natasha, who got her piece late. So we have Leslie and Natasha. Yes, Natasha has a piece. Leslie has a piece, and Krishna Samaru, of course. We haven't heard him.
Yes. So let us go to Leslie. I love this girl's handle. It's Douglas Essence. I love that. And her voice and her spirit I associate her with Natasha Gray, another arts activist from my first meeting with them through this forum, Poetry and Prose. Leslie Ann will read Under the Mango Tree and Death of a Friend. Over to you, Douglas Essence.
Afternoon all, happy to be here. Mango plant born wild, a hard word it was, struggling to escape that clinging shell. City lights, to grow tall branches spread wide, bearing fruit, providing sustenance for both worm and Homo sapiens. Rich rituals enhanced by evergreen leaves, prominent in prayerful ceremonies. The potted plants, an easy birth, nurtured by loving hands, watered, fed, caressed, shielded, finally blossomed. What a beautiful flower it was. Decorative, much admired from a distance. No fruit, no shade, no ritual. Placed upon a pedestal next to a decorated windowsill. A light almost invisible, drizzle blew across the land. The old man smiled. His daughter, the bride, is coming here today. This property, marked by this laden mango tree, her wedding gift. Then she arrived straight from that foreign land, behind the tinted glass. Such a lovely Grecian face. And beside her, a dark, handsome man of a different race. Old father offered the yellow garlands of gander flowers. He took the deed, but not the flowers. Her husband, he hates the presence of marigolds. This young lady cannot know that less than 60 years ago, less than 60 yards from here, that young ladies like herself, her grandmother also, toiled in these fields of clinging mud, blazing sun, and pouring rain, from dawn to dusk, straight out of bridal beds. And now I have the death of a friend as well.
Yes,
There is no one at my gates tonight, just a troubled moon, above an old street light and darkness in between. This is the night my old friend died, finished by a mindless creature, a creature born in a faraway place, becomes an ever more efficient, ever evolving killing machine. Almost human in that evolution. To better adapt devices to puncture, burn, and radiate human flesh, to gun down innocents in streets, to murder and to kill another race. We plunder the bragging rights, we celebrate human death. We do, and some more unspeakable. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, mass killings. The virus came by boat and plane, entered our throats, and strangled from inside. Pundit, pastor, priest, scientist, artist, the exploiter and the exploited. But take comfort, the virus will soon be defeated and leave us to our ways. The burning of the Amazon forest, plants and animals suffocating, disappearing, dying. Turtles drowning with plastic in their mouths. Take comfort, the virus is not as murderous as us. A troubled moon, that yellow street light, that lock gate, something deadlier lurks outside tonight. Thank you for the honor, Mr. Persad.
Thank you, Leslie Ann. Any comments?
I can't let this go by, because in so many of Kamta's poems, he serves to remind us that, to preserve the culture. And, just a simple thing like the mango leaves and the gander, the marigolds. These are, I just want to mention that these things are so essential in every Hindu rituals, cultures, weddings, pujas, etc. And Kamta has captured that so good. And then, he mingles that with the modern people who don't care about the gender and the thing. You know, usually you go to greet somebody, you come in, you put on a mala for them with the marigold. All they want is the landed. Kamta, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay. Natasha Gray, what do you have for us? I have no idea. Natasha,
Hi, I have
you can go
then
next.
and now. I have then and now. Then, hopping from bar to bar, money done, looking for credit, but the bartender said, "You are the cloud on people's silver lining." Went searching for young the Chinaman, found assistant Snake instead. Snake with reptilian eyes ushered me upstairs to an unlit cavernous space, soon to be a discotheque. His consort, a will-o'-the-wisp of an Indian girl, seemed like she would soon vanish and leave her ornamental ornaments floating in the air. Smiled with a universal smile and ushered me further into a wondrous sight. A table all covered with multicolored bills, a mound of money with silver coins flung here and there. There sat Young with two sawed-off shotguns. Behind him, his imported wife, and next to her, an immaculate young man. The well-written proposal solved equations straight out of the halls of academia. My competition. My competition knew I had no chance. Left quickly, but not before I saw his silky hands that never held a jackhammer or ripped apart an old amplifier, finding pieces to build another. One day, Young, the Chinaman, reappeared and drove me back to that cavernous space. Cracked open walls, filled them with multicolored wires, each one with purpose to create harmonious, pleasing, promiscuous light. Now, trapped in a room of shimmering light, skills gone with old age, soon they will be taking the key from the door. And here too I have T.S. Eliot. Devadyam, I've heard the key turn in the door once, and turn once only. We think of the key, each in his prison. Thinking of the key, each confirms a prison from the wasteland. Thank you very much, Mr. Persad, for the opportunity to read your work, and Mr. Budu Singh for affording me the opportunity as well to read the work. It's been my pleasure.
It would have been, it's always nice to hear Natasha read using her dramatic voice. Nice. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, so we have what, 3 minutes to 3. So I will now read my piece. Okay.
Okay, Krishna.
Right.
You know, we could
go ahead.
Stay back a little. We could go a little 10 minutes extra now because I want to have
yeah, sure.
Kamta's comments over
okay,
there.
No problem.
Okay, and well, Randy is not there, so we will go to that after.
Well, once Gersha is handling that is fine with me.
That's perfectly fine. And Natasha,
Okay.
I loved your rendition.
Yes, so
Natasha always gives such dramatic things. She brings
Lovely,
life
lovely.
to the poetry or the poem or the story that she's reading. She gives it life. She's really a true theater practitioner. Wonderful actress.
all right. So the final reader we have today is somebody I know as Krishna Samaru. I chose Sins of the Father. I chose Sins of the Father because the title has a personal resonance. I first heard it from my father. I don't know what he was talking about, but he talked about the sins of the father. passing on to the sons, the children. And that terrified me. So, God, my God, that man since gonna pass on to me, boy. But it is a biblical allusion, and it's taken from Exodus. You'll find it in Exodus, where the sins of the one generation goes to the next generation. Okay, when I was writhing in my bed, hurting from head to toe, with eyes that could not clearly see, the wise men, the doctors, said, "It is in your genes. We have the name." Shook their heads and left the room. Sins of the fathers? Or is it just the genes, familial disease, familial genetic idiosyncrasies? Blessing, curses from ancestry. And when he drew a gun and shot an innocent through the head, shot 2 more and lingered to smoke a cigarette, in anguish I shouted, "It is in the genes." No, no, the wise men said, the psychologist, "It is in the environment." But next door live a policeman, a politician, a priest behind tall gates in houses, circumscribed by barbed walls with devices that recorded deserted roads at night. Do you dare? Do you dare walk these streets alone at midnight? Strangleweed, that yellow leafless vine that winds through trees, suffocating, killing, stealing, injecting its own genes, consuming what it destroys to survive, makes no chlorophyll of its own. Killing the host is part of the modus operandi. It is in the genes. Thank you, Kamta. Okay. Reactions, responses, comments? Kamta?
Me?
That last line, that's correct. That reading there, the host is part of the what?
Yeah, it's part of the genes. People have genetic differences. That I don't want to say more.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, any others wants to come in? Right. Yeah. Yes, Moti. Moti, unmute. Moti.
Okay, thank you, thank you. You know, I'm so happy to have Kamta, and Kamta have so much more that he has written that we probably need about 2 or 3 programs. But what I particularly like about the poems is that they're so relevant, and they're offering advice, and they're giving us true picture of what's happening. So I don't know if Kamta want to comment a bit, but before I do that, I see one of my old partner there, boy. I don't know if you remember me, Keith Mongal.
Yes, sir. Good
Yes,
afternoon.
Good afternoon. You know, I drink plenty in your mother and father shop.
Is that right? That was a long time ago.
Yes,
in a different world.
I was married to your cousin Indra from Legal Trace.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Well,
Yes,
well,
so
the blood
don't
runs.
you
The
remember
blood
me.
runs very famous blood. I feel privileged to be a part of that bloodline.
So glad to see you here. You know, I see you now and then on Facebook.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Kamta is a personal friend. I've sat with him and we talked many nights about the angst that he's going through in writing some of these pieces and finding the right words and things like that. It's really nice to see somebody that I've known for such a long time. Never really knew that he was an author of sorts. I knew he had talent, plenty of talent. And now to see it in action is really heartwarming. And when I was invited to this thing, I was more than thrilled to be to listen in to all the commentaries and hear his take on things, because you know we've had many conversations in many bars over many nights, and we've gone through, and I've listened to him, you know, try to find the right words to put in these pieces. I think we also have to appreciate the photography and how it interplays with the words and the poetry. I think it's truly unique, and that part is unique for me. It is really unique to see the juxtaposition of the photographs with the thoughts that he puts on paper. I really enjoy listening to him, and he and I have had many nights where we laugh, where the average bar people didn't understand what we was trying to say or do or whatever, but it's still a lot of fun, and I hope to have plenty more in the years to come.
Okay, thank you, Keith. You know, and Kamta, yeah, there are a lot of people making comments on Facebook. People who have taught at Palaseco and think Pinal Sec, there's a particular fellow, Paras Bipat, to talk about you too. So, but what I want you to do, Kamta, is to give a little feedback about the session, if you may.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would like to thank everybody. You did justice to my work. I actually see my work in a different light. The human voice plays an important part in expression. And so I want to say thanks to everybody. I don't want to call out to anybody, especially everybody did very, very well. I want to tell my niece that I'm very, very pleased with what she did. She and Glenn did. I really didn't expect it. Some of it seems strange to me that people will appreciate me that way. When you go old, sometimes you feel pretty isolated. As far as what people might say about my view, that is essentially that the society is in a kind of decay in terms of influenced by corruption, I can't change that. Now, recently I had an experience which I feel I must share. I told myself I better write a beautiful poem about the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. So I went up on Anthony's Street there, and there was our old friend sitting down. And I told him I wanted an old flowers garden with all the gander, sing and all those things to fit in one frame. And he said, yes, he had that beautifully. But when I reached out to give him my phone number, I realized he was blind. So that poem died there. He was almost blind. So what you meet up sometime will influence what you write. And that's what has been happening with me. So I really want to thank everybody. And you really made it, you really made me happy today. And what can I say? I say thanks to everybody. That's it.
I have a request. If I can, I don't know who will do it, but can I get a copy of the Then and Now?
Yeah, that is free for everybody. I am not given any copyright on that. Anybody can have anything there. Motilal, you could send.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering who will commit to send it to me.
Motilal, if you could send the last folder, the revised version to him, you will have everything here. There's one that
I'll get that from
Motilal. Okay.
Motilal.
Yeah, but we are friends on Facebook now, so you could get it from me, right? Are we friends?
We are friends.
What he's saying
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
he could pass it to you through Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not, just put a friend request. Okay, Cass?
Okay, sorry, I was saying, and I was muted. What I will do, I will send the copy of Kamta poem because he gave me permission. So I sent to everybody on the email thread. Is that okay, Asi? Kamta, is that okay?
Yeah, the revised version, the revised list, and there was some conflicts between well, it happened because I was sending those things all over the place. So, but most of them are unique. Most of them.
But I have all the poems in a particular.
Yeah,
I will copy it, of course, with your permission, Kamta, to the members.
Yes, give everybody that. Those things are not
So the poetry, is
But
it
you meant,
in separated or is it in one document?
it's separated.
So
again.
it is on a file, Gosha. Also, I think I have, I don't know, but I'll send you file for everybody.
Just, if you want, you could send me the file and I could put it in one document, so it'd be easier to send across.
You had mentioned, if I heard you correctly, Kamta, you had mentioned that the quality was a mix-up.
No. What happened is some of the poems were repeated because they got renamed, as I said them all over the place.
Oh.
So it wouldn't matter really.
Okay.
But, you'll find the same thing under different names.
Yes.
Under different names.
Because, I had to look them over to see that we didn't repeat poems.
Yeah, because the way things were in the early days, I didn't.
Okay, I think Natasha wanted to tell us
Natasha
something.
wants to come in.
Come in, please, Natasha.
Hi, just with the team. I just been involved in a program called Virtual Storytime with FRCC down Faisabad, and I was wondering if we have your permission, we would like really very much to read what's the name of the thing, boy? Death of a Friend on our show, on our one of our upcoming shows.
I have no intention of putting. I have no intention of putting copyright on these things. On the photographs, yes, but not on what I write. That belongs to everybody. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is awesome.
I know
we will link you
in. Come in, but before Gosha comes in, I just want to give people some information that this Saturday 15th, there's a group called For the Love of Reading, and they had asked for people to come and read in Valsayn. This guy who with Fisherman's and Friend of the Sea, I think he have a store called Mood Alive or something. And Saturday, if you Google For the Love of Reading, you could arrange, to go and read there on Saturday. I have been invited, so I'll be reading there too on Saturday. Thanks anyway.
All right, I want to just hand over to Gosha. Thank you for the opportunity of sitting in the chair today. Thank you, Kamta, for sharing your work. We got quite a variety of issues, topics that you dealt with in your pieces: COVID, politics, colonialism, imperialism, culture, religion, prostitution, death, some very provocative pieces. And I want to thank all the readers I introduced who helped to bring your work to life. So I thank you for the opportunity, Gosha. It's over to you.
Hi, okay, I'm just putting For the Love of Reading in the chat for anyone that likes it. For everyone that came today, thank you. We were up to about 18 or 19 participants. Mr. Persad, I'm eternally grateful for allowing us to read your work and for coming here and sharing your talent with us and your views. And thank you so much, Krishna, for hosting. I know it's quite a duty. You're wonderful at it. I know we had a little hiccup in the beginning, but I believe that it just went smoothly today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Natasha, for always keeping us on point. I got a little taste of the stage managing Natasha typically does for us, and I'll let you know it was quite a bit of work. So we're eternally grateful, Natasha, for the work that you do for us, and for Motilal, of course, for being the backbone of Poetry and Prose and getting everyone the readings and pulling everything together. Thank you so much. And again, Mr. Persad, thanks for sharing your work. You really are an inspiration.
You already made my work come alive. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. And with that, we will close. But please stay on. Don't hang up. We can share after the recording is finished.